You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm my friendship. Oh,
you know what time it is. Raw with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. And it's Buckeyes by a billion. We in the building with over 100,000. We represent from the uttermost to the public housing. And if we don't play, all wide receivers got your secondary shook, so they cook them like Bobby Flay. Hey, stay out of my way and trust me, cause I know it's OH. Somebody please give this brother an IO. Come on.
What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to Pop's Pod, where we talk all things recruiting. I'm Devin, and I'm going to pass the mic off to Daniel to let him introduce our very special guest for tonight.
Man, we got a great guest in tonight, man. Goes without saying, you guys see it right there in front of you. The founder, the owner. What are you guys right now? You guys are the defending OT7 national champions. Mr. Brett Getz. How you doing, brother?
What's up, guys? Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Man, we really appreciate having you here, brother.
No, I appreciate being here. Love it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show, man. Yeah, for sure. Great show. Got a lot of people in the chat already. If you're in the chat, hit that like button, man. Take this moment, share that feed on your X account, your Instagram, your Facebook, the whole 9 yards. Got a fire show planned for you. Got some information coming your way about SFE, about OT7. Probably get into some more things there. Any questions you guys have, throw them in the chat. If we can get to them, we will. But let's just get this thing rolling, man. Daniel, what you got?
So let's just kind of start off of the premise of why we invited Brett to come on tonight. Just on the football side, we talk about on Pop's Pod, things that we think are very, very important as you're taking this journey as a ball player. And one of the things that I felt was something that was very essential in Devin, his coming up was playing 7-on-7. So we started out at a smaller level, moved on to a bigger level when we got to the gentleman right here. Of course, what he is, what they say he is. He's a legend in this game, right? So I wanted to bring in somebody, to kind of talk about another one of those avenues that I think is part of the puzzle, right? And that's the 7-on-7 piece. So again, bringing in Brett to kind of give us his thoughts on this thing. And so we'll just kind of jump right into it, brother. Tell us tell us all about SFE. What does SFE stand for? Who are you guys?
Yeah. So first of all, SFE stands for South Florida Express. We kind of got away from that name, the whole South Florida Express, over the last several years, because we now have people from kids and great athletes from all across the country. So we kind of took the South Florida out of it and everyone was calling us SFE anyway. So now we just kind of stick with SFE, because really people say, hey, maybe you're American Express now. You got kids from all across the country. But I started SFE 18 years ago. Didn't really realize what it would turn into today. It was the first all-star 7-on-7 team, and the whole thing just kind of blew up. We had, at the first time, we had the best players from South Florida. A lot of the kids that I knew, I invited them to come play. We were invited to a tournament down in South Florida. Actually at University of South Florida in Tampa. I got a call from somebody from one of the recruiting sites and asked me if I wanted to participate and be in a 7-on-7 tournament. And most of the teams, he told me, were going to be, well, basically all the teams were going to be high school teams. So I said, well, I would like to do an all-star team with the best players from South Florida. And that's kind of what happened. My first player was Geno Smith. I needed, 7-on-7 starts with a quarterback. So Geno Smith was the top quarterback, not just down here, but across the country. So contacted Geno, kind of went over what I wanted to do, and Geno said, let's go. And that's how South Florida Express started. I invited about 22, 23 kids, and about 30 showed up for this so-called little tryout, and turned into what it is today, the best 7-on-7 team in the country. And proud to have that title, but we worked really hard for it, and we've had some really great kids, including some Sanchez kid out of Houston last year to help us wrap up our third or fourth national championship.
Yeah, good stuff. So as you kind of talk about that, Brett, just kind of reel off some of the names of past SFE ball players.
Yeah, well, for your Ohio State crew there, you got Ryan Shazier play with us, Jamal Berry, who was a running back there. We had Amari Cooper, Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey, Carlton Davis, Asante Samuel, Teddy Bridgewater. And then you look at the college today. You start with Ohio State. You got Brandon Innes, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Devin Sanchez, Bryce West. Across the country, there's guys at Alabama, USC, where you name it, there was an SFE player on there.
It's half the Ohio State roster essentially is SFE at this point. Brett, man, it's really cool because I read an article, right, about kind of how you started SFE and all the hardships you guys had to deal with, the NCAA, different things like that. You shared several really cool stories in that. So I don't know, man, can you kind of share your passion for why you started this and maybe rattle off a couple hurdles and how much work it took to get this thing off the ground for these kids, man, to experience this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it started before social media. So for me to even get kids to show up at a tryout, I had to get telephone numbers. And, I knew a bunch of the college coaches, different recruiting sites. So, even getting Geno Smith's name, his number, had to reach out and get his number from whoever it was back then. And so that, just getting the numbers and getting all the kids to believe in what I wanted to do, I really, I was into the whole recruiting thing. I'm a big college football fan. And I said, man, this would be really, really cool to do this. And just been a passion of mine. And, I literally 24/7, 365, I'm thinking of ways to make this bigger and better. It's not just me. I have some great support. I know you guys had Vernell Brown on your show once. Great person, great mind for not just sports but business, and I have several other people that help me and really try to build the biggest and best, not just 7-on-7, but biggest program that we could do to really, really benefit these kids. And early on, you talk about some hurdles. Oh God, NCAA. Not that they were a hurdle, but they wanted to find out what is this new this was 16, 17 years ago. What's going on? Is this AAU basketball once again? Whatever. And I thought, God, there's been so many hurdles. I mean, one of the big ones that we had early on, and you still have it sometimes, but not as much anymore, is high school coaches not letting their kids play because they were worried about, who's this SFE or whatever team it was. We weren't the only ones, but we were the first ones probably to have the hurdle is, I'm not letting my kid play on this team. He might end up on another high school team if we bring, so we had to overcome that. I got over that pretty quickly. I got to know or knew a lot of the high school coaches down here. And, I had a good reputation character-wise, who I am. And I don't know, it just grew like a passion of mine. I didn't realize how big it would become and how many people this would affect. I mean, I can name, there's so many good stories of kids that Vernell Brown is one of them. You asked his dad, he was a 3-star kid. A lot of people didn't know who he was. And he came out last year and he was probably one of the best all-around athletes I have ever seen and blew up to be a 5-star. So we've created this absolutely amazing stage for these kids to really showcase their abilities. And really, there's so many kids out there that might not have the 4 stars or the 5 stars, but they have that type of talent and they just haven't been recognized yet or haven't been seen yet, or for whatever reason it is. And this is what makes me most proud of what we do is getting kids on this stage. And by the way, I can't take all the credit. There's great media sites, including what we're going to talk about tonight is OT7, that puts you on this huge stage. And if you perform, you're going to be the guy. I mean, we have a safety, Aiden Pouncey, that is just committed to Notre Dame. And Aiden was, he good player, very good player. I mean, he was a good player when he came with us 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, his development over the last few years, and I'm not taking credit for the development. He's done a great job on his own or whatever he's doing, but he's blossomed into this unbelievable recruit, and every school in the country they offered him, and now he's committed to Notre Dame. So those are the great stories that I love, and this is why I keep doing what I'm doing, because it really just helps kids. And I'll end it, with this is that question is that the NIL world these days. I tell every kid I remind our team this all the time. The I in NIL is image, and your image is everything. And the one thing that I really, really focus on is when we go and compete, when we're in the hotel, when we're on an airplane, when we're in the airport, when we're walking off the field, walking on the field, everybody is watching SFE. Okay? Everybody is watching SFE. And your eye, that image, better be right on point, or else it's going to affect your recruiting. It's going to affect your NIL. People don't want a kid that has a big mouth or doing this or that or getting in a fight at a tournament. They don't want that. They want guys that want to compete at the highest level, love the game of football. And that's one thing that I love is teaching these kids how to act. And not that their parents don't, but sometimes they don't. So, how to act a certain way in our setting that we give them. Yeah.
Shout out to Aiden Pouncey, man. 2 interceptions last year in the championship game. Help win that natty. Man. But let me kind of ask you another question here, Brett. You kind of talked about the business side of what you guys are doing, in the day-to-day at SFE. I would, here's my question. What else are you guys doing, for these players, as far as, is it just ball? Are these guys just playing games? What else are you guys helping these guys out with?
My biggest thing is just, look, I'm not an X and O guy. I created this whole thing, made this big stage, but I'm just more of a, I should say a people skills guy, and really trying to teach these kids a lot of different lessons about life and stuff like that. I've been just blessed to be in front of this great talent, but like I tell the kids, you got to be great off the field too. And if you're not, it's just going to kill you. And it's actually going to make a big difference what your net worth could actually be. If you're a crappy kid and you have a bad character, man, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So, we're doing everything we can. Even now in NIL space, we're putting, big brands in front of these kids. We're sponsored by, we have some of the best, companies in America. We have American Eagle that sponsors us. We have Twin Peaks. We have a company called Huey Magoo. So we're giving these kids opportunities to get in front of those companies also, where when you get to college or even in high school, that maybe these guys will come after you and say, hey, we want to do a deal with this kid. He's great. And, so I'm always trying to come up with opportunities for these kids to be great. And plus our connections in the football space between both All-American games, the Under Armour game and the Navy All-American game now. It was the Army game. I am super tight with all those guys, and I fight like hell. If the kids deserve it, and I'm realistic about it. Like, if you're a really good player, you play with us, doesn't mean that you automatically are good enough to play in that game. And maybe you are, maybe you're not, but it's also very political. So I sit there and fight, and I get calls, man, every week about, can you help me get my kid into today, the future? Today I got a call from a friend. Can you help me get my kid into the Future 50 event? Or can you help with the Elite 11 and this and that? And, I do whatever I can to help these kids, man. I fight like hell with people to try to overcome certain things and try to make these kids the best person they could be and the best player they can be.
Great stuff.
Yep. Yeah,
Great
Brett,
stuff.
that, in that article I read, there was a story about, how much of a struggle it is to, especially when you started to afford these things like getting all these players on a bus, feeding these guys, all these things. And then when you read later in the story, you hear that not only are you doing all the things that you listed, but you're also taking these kids to colleges for visits and stuff. And we interviewed Caden Dixon Wyatt the other day, and I said, hey, man, what would you say to these recruits about the benefit, right, that you receive from SFE? And he had a long list, but he really hit on the visits, man. And, talking to Daniel and talking to some parents, you hear the toll that these visits take on parents and families and supporters, right, of these recruits financially, emotionally, in about every way. So to see you do this and give the opportunity for these players and kind of guide them and put them on a bus, and you go play an event, you leave the event, you stop by colleges, so you're giving these recruits that opportunity as well. I just kind of will let people know that, because I found that fascinating. The toll that it takes for that to occur, and you're doing it for a large group of people at one time. It's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I wanted to touch on that, man, Brett, just so people just kind of understand how much work really goes into it, logistically, just to be able to get these guys, in and out of what it is you need them to do. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. And, that's why I couldn't do it by myself. I got to a point a few years ago where I literally laid in bed exhausted. There's so much. You gotta book travel. You have to book travel now with kids from all across the country, right? So from Houston to LA, from Miami to LA, from Detroit to LA, and then coordinate with the kids on timing and this and that. And then, we got to make sure we feed them. So I really took on, again, I have a great partner, Spencer Gilden, that helps me a lot. I have Vernell Brown. I have Geno Smith's dad. I got a bunch of guys that really, Jay Wimbrow. I have a whole bunch of guys that really, you guys laugh. I mentioned Jay, everybody laughs. But no, I really have a bunch of people that really put in. We all volunteer. We don't get paid on this. And we love what we do. We love our relationships with the kids. We love to help them.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time. And then me, I'm like, how am I going to pay for this, right? I pay, I helped a lot over the years, but really got to a point where, man, this is costing a lot of money. I need to get sponsors. So then, I take a big thing now is going out and finding the right partnerships and sponsorships that can help us do what we do.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of fun for me. It's a challenge trying to raise money every day.
Yeah.
But we do it, and we have great partners, and people believe in what we do. And they believe in what we do is because the kind of people that we have around and all my partners and the type of kids that we bring on. We have a certain type of kid. It's not just a great 5-star player or 4-star or 3-star, whatever stars they are. It's about their character too. And that's one thing that helps win. You guys are Ohio State guys. Like, think about how they won last year. It wasn't just talent. It was chemistry, right? And it was so many of those guys that came back to be a part of that championship, that wanted to win and wanted to be together and wanted to be like family. And that's what we have. And I know, Daniel, you can attest to this, is our kids are super close. They're all in it for the same goal, to win, but also be together like a family. We're doing our first an SFE reunion dinner on June 25th down here in South Florida. And I can't even believe the responses that I'm getting from former players, both in the NFL, in college. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't wait for this event, because so many of these kids were like my kids. They were like my sons not too long ago. Now they're grown men. I just went to a wedding in Utah from a player that played on our first team, our first tournament. Our first team 18 years ago. 6 months ago, I went to his wedding out in Utah, and just like, oh my God, these kids are getting married. They have kids now. So I love to watch this whole journey. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Brett, you brought up partnerships. And so I want to ask, about one of your partners that you're with right now. Tell us about OT7. And how long you've been with these guys? When did that thing start up? And again, I want to make sure everybody knows you guys are the defending national champions for OT7.
We are. So we've actually won 2 of their first 3 national championships. We're going to go for 3 out of 4 this year. And I think we have the squad to do it. OT7 is Overtime Media, which is a big media company. They actually do the OTE, the basketball league that a lot of people watch. And they decided to kind of have a spinoff from the basketball and do the football thing 4 years ago. So we played in their first tournament, their first national championship in Vegas 3 or 4 years ago. And we ended up winning that one. Started a little slow for the first couple of days. And then, we had such an amazing team that year. We do every year. But we started off slow. And I said to the guys, look, man, going into that last day, you either want this or you don't want this, and you guys love each other. We love being together. Let's end this the right way. And our guys went on a crazy run that last day. Went 5-0 that last day and won the national championship. We beat Cam Newton's team. And he had a great team with Dante Moore was their quarterback. That's the quarterback at Oregon this year. But the OT7 has really become the tournament that everybody wants to play. And they have regional tournaments. They have
when's the national again this year coming up?
Yeah, June 26th through June 29th. Okay. And actually in our hometown. It's in Fort Lauderdale this year. So excited. This is the first year we're home. So with that, we're kind of doing a lot of fun things locally with the kids being in our hometown.
Brett, I just got a question, man. You got a lot of fans, right? You're on national television now, like with the OT7 events. You get to see SFE and things like that. You mentioned the funds it takes to kind of run this thing. There's a couple people that ask in the chat about essentially, are there a way for fans of SFE to kind of help support this program? Or do you guys sell merchandise, or is there a way for people to get involved here, like financially, to help SFE out if they feel that, lead to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. We do appreciate any support we can get because, boy, does it help. It cost us this year is about $240,000 to run our program. And that's we have a varsity team and we have a 15U team. So obviously it's expensive and we need help. We do have a couple, I mentioned them earlier. We have a few corporate sponsorships. But, man, to keep this going and keep running it, we got to constantly raise money. I would say, the best thing is to probably reach out. We have our social media. So you can always go onto our social media, into our inbox, and inbox us there. Any of our South Florida, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. Or you can inbox me on my, I'm SFE Coach on Instagram. Just go under SFE Coach and Twitter. I think I'm SFE Coach also. So, go on there or go through you guys to get to me. That's a great question.
Give me phone number, Brett.
Yeah, I would. Listen, I love talking, as you can tell. So I could give you my email, but look, we need donors. We need support. We need to keep doing what we're doing for these kids. We need to feed these kids. Yeah. And by the way, I said this from day one. If I can't raise the money and I can't do this the right way, in a 5-star way, then I'm not doing this. So always, do whatever I can to raise money. And we've been fortunate to get some great sponsorships and to get great people to help us. But if you want to help, please go into our social media, inbox us, and, get my number from there and let's talk and figure out ways you can help. It would be great. Thank you.
Man, you talked about certain thing that I think is going to be a great segue into what my next question. But I do want to kind of put out there when we talked about OT7 as a parent who had the opportunity to play local tournaments all around the country, and then to kind of bump into OT7 as we kind of got further along the line, and we were almost done with that. I will tell you, from myself, the family, no better tournament run than what I've saw at the couple OT7s that I've been to. Man, they do a outstanding job from just the way that they take care of their business, how things are flowing, security. They do a great job as far as OT7 is concerned. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that. Brett, you brought up that in OT7 in SFE, you guys had different divisions, right? Where you're starting these guys off a little bit younger. I think what everybody knows when they look at you guys as the older guys, the varsity club, the travel club, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to ask something that a lot of people would probably have on the front of their minds when they're looking at these things. In your personal opinion, when is the best time to start off a kid in 7-on-7?
It's a great question. There are, and again, there's different age brackets, right? We do, and every year we kind of change it up depending on what we have and what the talent is. Most of our younger teams are mostly local kids. So we would, we've done as low as 11U. We've done, this past year we did 15U in varsity, but we've had 14U, 15U. And this is an interesting story for you Buckeye fans. Our first year we did, I think it was 12U or 13U. The reason we did it was because of the guy who plays on the Buckeye team named Jeremiah Smith. And Jeremiah had this team that he played Pop Warner with, that he grew up with. And in the off season, and you ask about when's the best, or you could play, I've seen 10U or 8U tournaments. And, when a lot of parents now are scared for their kids to play tackle football at a young age, here's a great way to get them started with football by playing 7-on-7 or tag or flag or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so, as early as you can find in your area, do it, because it's giving the kids a great way of kind of learning the game, or it's not exactly the same game, but it's, skill-wise it is. So I think, as early as possible, like I was saying earlier, Jeremiah had this team of all his friends that played together. They won the national championship with the Miami Ravens down here. And they all wanted to stick together when they were done playing tackle. And so Gino Smith, Gino Sr., said, hey, my nephew's coming up. They have this great 12U team or whatever it was, 13U team at the time. Let's create a 13U team. And we did. And from there, those kids all, played together until they couldn't, until their last year of varsity. And that team had unbelievable talent on it that, kind of went through our system year by year.
So Brett, kind of on that note, man, for those people that don't know, kind of a two-parter here. How do you recruit these kids to SFE? How do you decide which kids get in? And for those, kids that maybe want to try to find a 7-on-7 team to get on, how would they go about doing that? How would they go about finding, a team to play on?
Yeah. So up until last year, we had a tryout and we posted it everywhere, and whoever wanted to come to our tryout, I mean, we've had as much as 500 kids come to our tryouts. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. And when you have 500 kids at a tryout, try picking kids. I mean, it's just chaos, right?
Crazy.
So this year we kind of changed it up a little bit. We had what we call our SFA retreat, and we had probably 65% of the team was returning from last year's team. Then we needed to fill in the gap, and then we look both locally and nationally for the best kids that are going to fit certain positions on our team. And we invited them. We invited about 30 kids to our retreat this year, which was down here in South Florida. We flew the kids in. We gave them a great weekend. We gave them a hotel. We fed them. We had camps, and we did 7-on-7 stuff, individual stuff, one-on-ones. And that's how we found our team this year. Now, most of the time, either we find them or they find us. We get inboxed all the time from kids across the country. Hey, we'd love to play on your team. What do we have to do? And then we'll look up the kid, try to watch as much tape as we can from Huddle or whatever, and say, hey, this kid looks like a good fit. I've met kids at different college camps that I've seen, and I said, I'll grab a kid just like the colleges, like, hey, who are you? We want to give you a scholarship. I'll see kids at camps and college camps, and I'll say, hey, man, I'd love for you to play. You ever hear of South Florida Express, SFE? And they said, yeah. You want to play 7-on-7? And they said, we'd love to. So all different ways, but, we're just trying to find the best fits for each position on this team. And, we have 22 kids a year. So we're always, it starts the quarterback too. Quarterback position's everything. I think we have 4 quarterbacks from SFE in the 18 years that made the NFL, which is, it's just we're trying to find that, and we have a great one this year. Our quarterback this year is Neiman Lawrence, who was a true freshman in high school this year, and Neiman is as good as he's got offers for everybody in the country as a true freshman. He's 15 years old, and we went all in on Neiman. We actually the truth is that we told Neiman, hey, you're young, we know you're great, but we got to make sure you're ready for this type of talent we're going against, because you still are 15. He was 14 when he started with us this year. But he's been playing with our younger teams for the last several years. And we knew he was the next guy coming up. So this year we took a couple older kids to start off with. They just weren't, we tried it out for the first tournament or so. Just didn't work. And then we said, Neiman, it's your turn, let's go. And Neiman's been fantastic for us all year. I can't ask for not just a better player, but a better kid and a better family. His parents are great, and he's been a great fit for us.
Well, Brett, when Neiman gets done, SFE, we will take him off your hands here at Buckeye Nation if you would like. I'm just offering.
Well, you're trying. By the way, he's been up there a lot. So
yeah, I know.
We'll see what happens. I'll tell you one thing. I told the coaches with the Caden Dixon Wyatt commitment, and even having Devin there, those kids like Neiman look up to these guys. I'll tell you, Neiman's like all-time favorite, guy is Jeremiah Smith. He loves JJ. So, and then he looks up to guys like Devin that he played with last year, or Caden Dixon Wyatt. So, Buckeye Nation, just keep fighting. By the way, you got 3 more years, so you got a while, but he loves Ohio State. He loves the coaches. And I think if it all stays like it is right now with the same people, I think there's
Oh, no. Did we lose our guy?
Yeah, he'll probably hop back in here, but I love hearing that. But there he is. He hopped back in.
Sorry, in all honesty, that right there was Caden's mom. That was just calling me.
No,
he must be watching. So she's calling me, so I had to kind of hang up on her real fast. Sorry. All right, Grace, if you're watching, love you, but you got to wait.
Yes, buddy. Well, Brett, you've been talking about all these athletes, all these ballers that you've had the blessed opportunity to have your hands on, to be able to mentor these guys and have these guys around. I want you to talk. That's all fine. And whether it's starting from the bottom, moving up to the top, you got the little group that you're trying to herd all these little cats, or you're working with the cream of the crop that are on their way, out. You got to have somebody coaching. So right. I want to give you this chance to kind of talk about your coaches. Who do you have on staff over there at SFE, and kind of talk about the level of coaching that you guys are pushing for, as a program with SFE.
Yeah. So, look, I really try to bring the best people I can around these kids. We have this little tight ship that we run, and it starts with, not just the players, but the coaches. And, I don't want, with 7-on-7, it's huge to get on this big stage, but I also want guys that maybe can help develop these kids as well, So we've had some great coaches over the years, this year and for the last several years on defense. Samari Roll. Samari played 12 years at the highest level, was a Pro Bowler, went to a Super Bowl, but 12 years in the league. And Samari, again, we don't get paid. He does this. He gives back. He loves it. He loves working with the kids. Sometimes it's funny to watch him because he's hard on these kids, but he should be because, if you're one of the top guys, you got to take coaching well, and Samari does a great job teaching what he went through and now, helping these young men. Ron Hodge is our coach, our OC, and Ron has done a great job at the high school level down here. Ron coached several state championships. He's the OC in American Heritage down here, which is always a nationally known team. His quarterback, Dia Bell, is going to University of Texas. Great kid, great player. He's done a great job. We have Coach Blue that helps. Another guy from American Heritage helps on defense. You got Vernell Brown, who's played at all three levels: high school, college, a little bit of the pros. But also, like what Vernell brings is a lot of his experience. Like Vernell was the pro liaison at University of Florida for several years. He knows what NFL guys are looking for, right? So he brings a lot of that professionalism to the kids and to our program. And I think that is just a huge thing with us. Again, great coaching. This year, I said, hey, I talked to Geno Smith and the quarterback for the Raiders. I said, hey, why don't you come back? We're going to be in the national championship down here in South Florida where he's at in the offseason. And he said, man, I would love to give back and help these kids and be the coach. So that's going to be exciting, and he'll help out Coach Ron on offense. But, for guys like Neiman to be – and by the way, Neiman doesn't have any issues. Neiman has Teddy Bridgewater as his high school coach. So Neiman's always around great people and great coaches, but it never hurts to have another voice, another opinion or something like that where, Geno this year will be able to help him and put him in the right setting for success.
What would you go ahead, Dev.
Sure. I was kind of going to go a little bit different of a direction. So if you're going along the same lines there, you probably should ask your question first.
What I do want to ask, it is kind of along the same lines, right? So because this coaching thing, right? It's one of those things where I think and I'm sure Brett, you can attest to this. That's one of the things where I think a lot of people have a negative kind of connotation when it comes to 7-on-7. When we're talking about guys who are actually out there doing the coaching, right? And so you guys have went above and beyond what I would say, finding the right kind of people, guys who have the experience and the background to coach on this level. So what I want to ask, Brett, is just as a whole, when you're out on the circuit and you're out just observing other organizations, other teams.
I'm going to plug in my phone, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I'm walking over here. Go ahead.
You good? So talk, just as an outsider, not being competitive. Give us your what are your thoughts on what you see as far as coaching as a whole when you're out on this 7-on-7 circuit? How do you feel about that? I mean, what do you think that what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, coaching is, obviously, like John Wooden said, it's really the players that make it, but you need leadership out there, right? So you need some direction. And I think, we do have the great players to win, but you need coaching to direct it, right? And put them in the right place at the right time and put the kids in the right positions out on the field and to understand the game and why they should be doing certain things. Even I left out when I mentioned coaches, Geno Smith, Sr., the dad, he's been with us for 18 years. And Gino has had great experience, not only being around his son, but being around his nephew, Jeremiah. So, Gino knows the game really, really well, loves this. I mean, Gino and I, we've had many arguments about stuff. We've had many laughs about stuff, but our passion is helping these kids. And the coaching is really important to us. Like, we want kids to walk away and say, hey, man, I learned so much. Or the other big thing is, just understanding, like, there's just, the whole chemistry part of this, having our coaches be on the same page as the kids, or the kids on the same page as the coaches, so we can really go out there and play together as one unit. And to me, our coaching is fantastic. I think we do a great job. The greatest compliment I ever got, I'll never forget this. We had a top kid down here, and I saw his high school coach. I went over to, I was at his high school for something. I see the coach. I say, hey, coach, I just want to thank you so much for letting, this kid play. And he said, I got to tell you something. I want to thank you, because he came back a completely different person and player from 7-on-7. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, his leadership, but most importantly, it was his confidence. He realized, but playing on that team, that he could hang with the big boys, and he fits in. And he didn't have that before. He knew he was good, but he didn't know how good he was. And that was like, hearing that, I'll never forget that, because I was like, wow, we're really doing our jobs. And our program is doing a great job. And 7-on-7 did a great job for this kid by letting him compete against the best players and making them realize how, that he fits in. We have a kid this year, Julio Santiago, out of St. Augustine, Florida. Julio, again, Julio is a kid that came to our tryout last year. Nobody knew who he was. It's funny, I got a call from somebody in North Florida saying, hey, keep an eye on this kid. I get that all the time. And sometimes the kids are good, sometimes they're not. This kid, our tryout, was unbelievable. We had no idea who he was. We picked him for our team. And between last year and this year, he has been one of our best players, most consistent players. Every single week, he made the catch of the year in 7-on-7 against a really elite cornerback. It was all over social media. He caught the ball around in the end zone around this kid's back. They both fell over, and he kind of pulled the ball off his back into his hands in the end zone and scored. And, watching kids like Julio, knowing that he was a 2-star or a 3-star, nobody knew who he was, to now, like, playing with the best receivers in the country against the best DBs, and I'm good. I could do this. And that makes me really proud to see that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Brett, I can see and I can hear the passion that you have for this, man. It's really cool to hear, man, and to watch. And, it kind of reminds me, man, when you hear Ryan Day talk, you hear how his number one thing is these kids, right? Raising them to be men. And then when you say this, your number one thing, right, is these kids, these men. And to just put it bluntly, man, that's not the case in every situation anymore. To put it bluntly, with NIL and everything else, you see so many people getting into this 7-on-7, coaching in this 7-on-7, becoming agents for all the wrong reasons, man. So it's really cool, you know what I mean, to see somebody that is doing this for the right things. And dude, I totally forget what I was going to ask you, man.
By the way, I will say this, I tell the kids this when they get to college, and I say this all the time. If you don't feel like you want to quit 10 times or 100 times in something, you're doing something wrong. When you go to Ohio State and Devin Sanchez is getting his ass kicked out there on the field, which doesn't happen, by the way. I'm just saying, if you don't get mentally beat up and physically beat up and you feel like you want to quit, you're doing something wrong. That means you're not working. You're not. And I've had the same thing in 7-on-7. You mentioned some of the hardships. Man, there's so many times I just wanted to stop doing this. It just wears me out, and mentally, physically, just so many things. And I really just realized what we're doing for these kids and what it means. So, you figure out how to make things work. When things are tough for you, you don't just back out, And the one thing is, I always say I'll never, my coaches be like, oh, I thought you want to quit. I'm like, guys, I'll never, ever quit at this, because we're doing so many great things for so many kids. And the families I meet, I mean, the Sanchez's, the Lawrences, the Dixons, Ashley Gordon out in Vegas. Like, man, the families that I have met, these are my friends for life. I have friends that, and even the coaches, I mean, I have friends for kids that played in the first year that I still talk to their parents. One of our kids, our first year, may he rest in peace, Jamal Berry, who actually went to Ohio State, just passed away within this past year. And to go through that with his mom and know that kid, you know, I mean, this is my extended family. And, you know, when I go to Ohio State or any of these schools and I see these kids, man, it's like seeing my own kids. I love seeing them. We'll go to dinner. So it's really, when people say this is a family, it is a family. And, and this is the part I love most about it.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say, and it kind of goes along the lines of, you know, it's like anything in life. There's a positive and there's a negative side of it. With this, you dealing with younger kids, I think that makes the negative kind of, it stings a little more, man. It's a little more nasty to watch and to hear about. But you hear this national conversation about how valuable OT7, 7-on-7 is to a college player's development on and off the field. You hear people say it's a negative thing. You hear people say you can't get anything from it. There's no contact. It's this, it's that. Can you explain to us? I can't think of somebody better to ask than somebody who's been around as long as you have. Just from your testimonial,
yeah.
I know the answer to this question, but can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of college coaches used to say that, right? They don't say that anymore. Yeah. I can't tell you, 7-on-7 means so much. Now, whether you agree or not, disagree, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But it means so much for the kids' rankings. It's a fact. It's not Brett Getz making this up. It's a fact. When a kid goes out, Aiden Pouncey, great example. We brought it up before. Yes. 2 interceptions in the national championship game on NFL Network against the top quarterback in the country, Deuce Knight. Yep. Makes 2 unbelievable plays. Ask that kid what 7-on-7 means.
Yeah.
I'll give you an old school one. Amari Cooper. Everybody knows who Amari Cooper is, the receiver. Amari Cooper, when he got traded to the Cowboys several years ago, I get a call from whatever the newspaper is in Dallas. And this woman calls me and she says, Amari Cooper just got traded to Dallas. We're doing a story on him. And he wanted me to call you to kind of tell his story, how he was discovered. And the way he was discovered, he was hurt his first couple years at Miami Northwestern High School. Really didn't play it much. I had his quarterback and a couple of his friends from Miami Northwestern coming to play with us. And they said, hey, Brett, we want to bring our friend, this kid Amari Cooper, to the tryout. Can we bring him? I said, absolutely, bring him. Amari Cooper comes out. I've never seen. I never saw a receiver like that ever. First year we had Stedman Bailey, who went on to play for the Rams, and he was fantastic too. But watching a Stedman or watching Amari Cooper, I realized what an NFL wide receiver looks like and what it takes. And Amari Cooper was unbelievable out there. And again, all this, and I'm calling every source that I know to tell people, you know, you guys at that year they had Nelson Aguilar was the number 1 receiver in the country out of Tampa Berkeley Prep or something. And we showed up at this tournament. I said, guys, I told all the people from all the websites, I said, Nelson Aguilar is a great player, but we have the best receiver in the country. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And anyway, he was so unbelievable. Nobody could stop this kid. And he went on. And after that, you know, and Amari will say, SFE and 7-on-7 put me on the map. There's a lot of kids like that. And so for the negative, you know, there's always the haters. It's going to happen, right? Yeah. Man, I will say, it is such a great way, especially, you know, obviously skill players. It really means something, you know, when you go out there and you can compete. Devin was man. We had great players on our defense, but we needed one more corner to really help us. And we got Devin, and not that, you know, the whole world knew who Devin was, but man, he helped us. But I mean, it is so big, and all those coaches, you don't really hear the college coaches say that anymore. 7-on-7, they used to. Urban Meyer said it once, and then Urban Meyer would call me or some of his guys. Hey, tell us about this kid. I'm like, hey, I thought 7-on-7 doesn't mean much.
Right.
It does. And the other thing is just, and again, I mentioned this earlier, is the I in NIL, their image, who they are as a person. People would call me, tell me about this kid. And if they're choosing between this kid or that kid, and they call me and they say, hey, tell me about Devin Sanchez, or tell me about Julio Santiago, or tell me about Amari Cooper, I'm going to tell you what kind of kid they are. And 99.9% of the time, kids that we bring are great kids. So character-wise, coaches will call us and ask us about the kid off the field as well.
Yeah.
So,
Daniel,
go ahead.
We got a lot of super chats building up. Let me bust these things out real quick, and then you can do your thing. Speaking of Grace, we appreciate you so much for the $4.99. She said Brady's a great human being. He puts all his heart into these kids. Thank you, Brett, for your commitment and compassion for these boys. SFE for life, baby. She hit us with another $4.99 and said, we will win the Natty again at OT7, SFE for life. Thank you, Russ, so much. A loyal listener, man. We appreciate you joining all the time, Russ, for the $9.99. Thanks for helping send some great young men to the Buckeyes. Thank you, Daniel and Deb, for hosting the show anytime, man. Dude, this is an honor and a privilege to be hosting this show right now. Pretty cool. And my boy Mello, my co-host, the other half of the Buckeye Boys, he's about to put us on the spot. Well, in particular, you, Brett. So I'm sorry for this.
Let's
he
do it.
Super chatted it. $10. Here it is, dude. It's Amari or Optimus. We have nicknamed Jeremiah Smith Optimus Prime. So, which that's what he wants. He wants to know which one, man. I don't know how you answer that.
So when it comes to Jeremiah's, his real nickname is JJ. He's Jeremiah. But what's this guy? The guy that does all the games on Fox, Lewis. I forgot the commentator, but he had the nickname. You know what it was? I'm going to tell you right now because he always says it. And then I asked him about it. Let me see if I could find it. Give me a half a second. Oh, man.
Antoine Lewis was the – no.
Oh, okay. So I want to ask your viewers, your Buckeye viewers that love JJ.
Oh, yes.
Is it Lewis Johnson? Is that the guy for
Gus
Fox?
Johnson?
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
What is the nickname that, and I love it. What's the nickname that Gus Johnson gave JJ? See if any of your listeners know this.
Dang, man.
I can't say I know.
I forget. I remember what he said, but I was so stuck on Optimus Prime.
And you know what? I'll tell you what's funny about it. JJ's playing the game. I didn't think he really even knew. And I was at Ohio State facility, and Gus Johnson was there, and Gus was looking for JJ, found JJ, and I said, hey, JJ. And Gus was just telling us about his nickname. I know what it was. I said to Gus, hey, Gus, you name Marv, Maserati Marv. What's JJ's? And JJ was right there. I said, JJ, you know what it is? He goes, of course I do. Money on the Rise.
Oh, yeah. He said that in the I think it was the Rose Bowl. He kept repeating that.
No, but he did right. But he from early on in the season,
yeah.
And I don't know how JJ even knew that, but Money on the Rise was JJ's nickname. But whatever you want to nickname him, boy, he's great. So greatness. Yeah. I don't know.
That's interesting. Brett, look, again, man, I want to thank you so much for doing this. We always we touch on the good stuff. We also like to touch on the other side of things. We try to keep things as honest, as transparent as physically possible with this thing. So again, I want to kind of touch on some of the. This is why we brought you here, man, to kind of defend this thing, because again, I want people to understand. I'm a believer in 7-on-7. I think it's essential. I think especially if you have a guy who's playing certain positions, you got to be out there. Especially if you don't have something going on in the off season.
Yeah.
So 7-on-7 has become what I've heard a lot of people say, is the new AAU basketball. I will attest to what you said. I've had several coaches look me right in the eye and tell me, we are not watching any 7-on-7. You will not get a scholarship off of 7-on-7. Why are you wasting your time playing on 7? I've heard these things, right? I've heard all of that stuff.
They're lying.
Yeah. Hey, like, again, man, I'm a believer. So you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask, right? Because these things are important. And I think it's very important for parents to hear this, from people like yourself. Mm-hmm. When it comes to this, right? As these guys, we talked about, some of the benefits, why should guys do this? Can you gain from this thing, right? So I'm going to ask, as a parent who may be out there looking to join a club, or, and they're thinking about it, or they're getting called. In your eyes, what is more important to you when you're running this organization? Is development more important, or wins more important for SFE?
Yeah, I think they both come hand in hand, right? I mean, I think the development is huge. I love, and I mentioned this several times, I love to watch kids gain confidence, get better in their game. That means everything to me. And listen, 7-on-7, you don't win every tournament. You don't win every game. It's 7-on-7. It's a short game. There's no room for errors. If you make an error, you fall behind in a game. It's hard to come back sometimes. But to me, it's about the whole thing. I don't look at any other program. I don't look at all the negative guys. If you don't like 7-on-7, stay home. By the way, the kids that are staying home right now and not competing, and this is where some of that narrative has changed. The kids that are not competing, I look at it like, first of all, if I have a team, if I have a college team, or if I have 7-on-7, I want guys that want to compete. I want guys that always want to compete, that just constantly want to compete. If you don't want to compete in 7-on-7 and you're hiding something, or you just don't want to compete, I don't want you on my team. So anyway, whether it's a college coach or a high school coach, and I will tell you where things have turned these days, if kids are not playing 7-on-7, I've seen kids drop in rankings. And that's a fact. Kids have dropped because these scouts that are giving the rankings aren't seeing you. And they're seeing another kid that's really, really good. So how am I going to give Johnny, who's not even competing out here, a higher ranking when this guy, Caden Dixon Wyatt, is just killing people against the best competition? How can I give him a better ranking if I'm not even seeing him? So for the negative people that don't like 7-on-7, and it's gotten fewer and fewer, stay home. Don't watch it. I don't care. But it means something. It absolutely means something. And I this overtime, the content that OT7 is interesting because it really gives kids an opportunity to showcase their talent, but it also gives kids an opportunity to showcase their personalities. And they do a lot of fun things off the field, interviews and funny things and games. And it really gives kids an opportunity to showcase, especially in these days at NIL, where companies are looking for, great players, but also great personalities. Yeah. Man, if you're not doing it, like Caden Dixon Wyatt, he's gotten Invisalign deals. He's gotten Adidas deal, not because he was sitting home, because he didn't want to compete, because he wanted to compete. So for the people that don't like it, man, don't watch it, don't play it. It's all good. But I will tell you that college coaches, if they tell you they're not watching, they're lying. They're watching. Yeah. If you don't think coaches are tuned in, watching, and I'm not saying every coach, but most coaches, if it's not them, it's somebody on their staff watching, watching OT7 on NFL Network or on YouTube, you're fooled because they're watching. And like you said, we talk about Aiden Pouncey, man. Wow. What a great thing it did for him. Our quarterback, I should never leave this out, because our quarterback last year, with the 4 quarterbacks that we've had in the NFL for SFE, our quarterback last year, Tramel Jones, was probably...
Shout out to Tramel.
Trammell was probably the best prospect of a quarterback that I have seen in a long time. And Teddy Bridgewater was great. Geno was great. All these guys were great. This Trammell Jones, the arm strength, the smartness up here, everything about him. I'm not saying he's going to be in the NFL and be a Hall of Famer. I hope he is. But as a prospect, a pure prospect, if I'm recruiting a kid, that is a kid that I'm throwing everything in and going after, the quarterback position. Because, as smart as anyone I know, as clean in every way off the field, but man, an arm that, I talked to a guy that trains a lot of NFL guys in North Florida, and he's worked with Trammell, and he said, that arm is beyond elite for what he could do.
Yeah.
So, guys like that too, who blew up, and he outdueled and whether it means something or not, Deuce Knight, that national championship game last year on the NFL Network. And if you watch that game, you can say, "Oh my God, who is that quarterback?"
Yeah.
Great kid.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, I have 72 more questions for you, but we've been on here for about
you know what? I had a long week of work.
We've been on here for about an hour.
I'm actually sitting on my bed now because I had to plug in my phone. So
yeah,
I got all night. Go ahead, keep firing away.
Yeah, it's been about an hour. I only have one more question, right? And then Daniel, whatever you want to do here, maybe we start wrapping this thing up. Taking a lot of your time, and this has been absolutely phenomenal. But
yes,
Ohio State Buckeye Nation knows, man, and we call it the SFE Ohio State Pipeline, right? That's just kind of what we've called it.
The young kids call it the plug.
Yeah, the plug, right? So I'm not going to just directly ask, but you could probably kind of get into it a little bit. What are your thoughts on Ohio State and kind of why these SFE kids? Why is that this pattern that's forming?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'll say this, and for all the haters I have, and I have a lot of haters, by the way, from even my own school, University of Florida, and we have several kids at University of Florida, or my hometown team, University of Miami, where I grew up as a kid watching. All these teams have SFE players, right? This thing I get about Ohio State, it started off with Brandon Innes, who I was super close with. Brandon, people don't realize Brandon was committed to Oklahoma with Lincoln. And he, probably Ohio State was his second best at the time. Well, when Lincoln left and when Lincoln Riley left and went to USC, Brandon opened up his recruiting, and Brandon Hartline just stayed on him and stayed on him and stayed on him. He ended up going to Ohio State. And Carnell Tate, who played with us also, the funny story is, I called Brandon that year before the 7-on-7 season. I said, Brandon, we need some more receivers like you. Who can we get? He says, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Carnell Tate. We played against him. His high school, Heritage, played against IMG. And he goes, he was unbelievable. Let me try to get him. And he reached out, and Carnell said, yeah, I'd love to play. And those two became really, really tight in our 7-on-7. Remember, we travel together. We're going city to city. We're staying in hotels. We're eating together. These kids get really, really tight, and they form a great bond. And him and Brandon got really, really tight. Carnell was a Midwest kid from Chicago, always liked Ohio State. And by the way, if you're a receiver, not to say Ohio State's the only guy putting guys in the league, but boy, oh boy, what Brian Hartline has done is unbelievable. Jeremiah, so those two end up there. And then Jeremiah, we went up with Jeremiah, I think he was in 9th grade, and he went to camp. And he loved Ohio State. Not only did he love Ohio State, but he loved Hartline coaching him out there. He was like, man, this is the guy I want to coach me. I mean, he was doing the routes with the kids, and they're just like, holy cow, look at this guy. And he just really impressed them. So the three of them went there, and then all of a sudden SFE became the big pipeline to Ohio State. But I will say, as a parent and as a mentor and as a coach, Ohio State has been, I first of all, the kind of guys they recruit fit my guys. Like I said earlier, I care about character. There's some schools, they just want to win. I care about character a lot, especially what we're doing, traveling with these kids that we don't know from the beginning. I need good character kids.
Yeah.
And I just, and I'm not saying this for all the, I'm saying this with with the current coaching staff, and Trussell was the same way, but the type of character that Ohio State's recruiting is the type of kids that I would want my kid to be around. And it showed with this last year's championship. They had great players, but they had the best character kids. You don't read, and knock on wood, you don't read the stories of, sexual assaults or drunk driving or this and that. Now, they're kids. It might happen, okay? No excuse for any of that, by the way. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is the type of character that you have there is different.
Yeah.
And so I could vouch for that. If you're a receiver, Caden Dixon-White comes to me and says, hey, man, by the way, he saw it himself. We went on a visit. He saw it. He felt it. He sat in meetings in that receiver room and felt it. Plus, he knew who was sitting in there the year before and who was currently in that room and said, I want that to be me. I want people to say, I'm, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jeremiah Smith. And, that's what they want. Brian Hartline, after he committed, Brian said, I am so excited, not just because it's Caden, it's the reason he's coming here. He could have went anywhere. He wanted to come and he wanted to compete. And he knew everybody was good in this room, and he might not play right away. He's not going to start the first year. But he knew how he's going to develop, both from the coaching standpoint. And to me, the best coaching you can have is competition.
Yeah.
So when you get in that room with Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes, Jeremiah Smith, Mylan Graham, all those guys, and Mylan was an SFE kid too. But when you get in the room with those guys that just love to compete, man, it rubs off. And that's what, and that's what Caden loves. So for the people the fan base for Ohio State, I love you. I love what you guys are doing. I love Columbus. I love everything about Ohio State. I am a Gator. We do have kids at Florida, but it's just kind of naturally happened over the last couple of years that these kids, they love what they see and what they're getting out of Ohio State. When they see Jeremiah, their idol, or Brandon Innes, and they say, man, I want that to be me. So that, that happened with Caden. He looks up to Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah's been around our program. He looks up to him. He sees it. He sees the competition. So, it's a nice little run right now with Ohio State and SFE players, and I'm happy. They want to. By the way, you can't knock them. They want a championship, and they're developing and being great kids. So, for the haters, hey, the proof is in the pudding, baby.
Yeah, Mello just popped something up here where he's, hey man, this has been great, Brett.
Thank you.
I just want to express that to you, and again, what Mello's putting up there, I want to invite you to come back, man. Hopefully here in the next month, if you can, man, because there's another piece to you. Again, man, you're like a Swiss Army knife, man, and this is just something that my family just recently learned about you, right? And so there's another avenue, another corner that you've been around that when we bring you back here, we want to touch on this. And again, you on the professional side, you're a financial advisor who works for Morgan Stanley. Yep. And some of the advice that you've given, my family has been really great. And so, man, I want to extend an invitation for you to come back here next month when you're free, man, to talk about that, the importance of financial planning in today's college athletes, right? So I just kind of want to put that out there, man. There's another piece to you, man, that is big, and this is kind of why I wanted you to come on here tonight, man, so we can get you back on here again, man.
I love it. I love talking ball. I love it. You guys are great. I love talking ball. And love talking about these kids. You see, Devin, you saw it. You guys know my passion for Dan. You'll know the passion I have for these kids and for this whole thing that we do. So I'm happy to come back anytime you invite me. I'll be there. And hey, maybe Devin, why don't you bring on Daniel? Why don't you bring on Mr. Jay Wimbrow?
Oh well, okay. So let's let's end this
No,
thing.
I'm
here
kidding.
now.
I'm joking.
No,
But
no.
maybe.
Listen, I'm glad you brought my guy up, man. Shout out to Jay Wimbro. Shout out to Dirt.
And Dirt.
My guys. But man, let's finish this up here with a little something that I've never done here before. All right, so we're gonna call this off the top, right? So I'm gonna shoot some things out here to you, Brett. I just want you to give me your first answer right off the top, man, and we're gonna wrap this one up.
Oh
here
boy,
tonight.
this could be interesting.
So this is all 7-on-7 related, right? So it should be pretty quick for you, man. So let's hit it, man. Okay, I want your best all-time SFE quarterback.
Wait, is that in
Best
7-on-7?
SFE quarterback.
You mean in 7-on-7?
7-on-7. Let's go. This is all 7-on-7.
Oh,
Man,
boy.
you're gonna get me in trouble.
Woo,
Tramel Jones.
Spit it out.
Tramel Jones.
Best receiver.
And Gino. I don't know. I got so many. But all
Best
right.
receiver. Best receiver.
Oh my God. You are really man.
Put you on the spot, brother. And I got more for you.
Is anybody watching this? Man, I hope nobody's watching.
There's only like 900 people watching.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play safe. Stedman Bailey.
Best defender.
Oh man.
Devin Sanchez. I mean, go.
No, I mean, by the way, I'm going to tell you Devin for sure, but God, we've had so many good ones. Oh my God. Devin Sanchez.
All right. Who's the scariest guy you guys ever played against?
Oh my God.
Any position.
Yeah, it was a tight end 16 years ago. It was our third year. And it was a giant tight end. Oh, my God. He went to University of Florida. Didn't make it there for off-field issues. This guy was enormous. We put Ryan Shazier on him. We put Jeremy Cash on him. We could have put an army on him, and we could not stop this kid. And to this day, that team still will bring his name up to me. I can't remember his name, but he was a killer.
Best SFE win.
Shit. Man. Oh, all right. Playing safe again. It was probably 10 years ago. We show up. We were all local. It was mostly all local kids. I rent the bus, which cost us a fortune. We were driving up to, I think it was Orlando, and 20 kids committed to come. I think 11 showed up. And I'm cursing at 6 a.m. at the bus, cursing at everybody in the world that I can't believe these kids screwed me like this or that. And our coaches say, "Hey, Brett, calm down. We're going to win this thing." I said, I'm driving home and I'm 6 a.m. I'm tired. I'm pissed off. I can't believe these kids did this to me because our kids are really loyal and they're good. And shit, they won this tournament. I said, gee, they won. And they're calling me and they're telling me what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Well, we win this. And I said, I will never doubt our coaching and our kids again.
Who's the best guy you got in the stable right now at SFE?
Player?
Who's the hottest guy you got in the stable right now?
Julio Santiago.
Okay, good deal.
Ooh.
I got to go with my guy who's not the big name guy, but man, he is such a great kid.
Best coach on the circuit.
Recruiting wise, by the way, right out of North Shore High School, Chase Calicut, another kid, 7-on-7, man. Like his parents will tell us all the time. And here's a funny story I want to tell all you fans out there and you guys. Coach Dirt was fishing. We were going to a tournament in Houston, and we were trying to get this young man named Devin Sanchez, and he couldn't play that weekend. And somehow Coach Dirt brings this other kid who's 6'3", long as hell. And I said, that doesn't look like Devin Sanchez to me. And the kid was real raw, a little nervous out there with all these guys. And 2 years later, man, Chase Calicut is such a special kid and really watched him develop in so many ways in football. And so that Chase is pretty hot right now when it comes to recruiting and just loving and get back to your question about what 7-on-7 does for people. Ask Chase.
Yeah, great question. Great. What team you hate the most out there?
I don't hate anybody, because I hate you when we're playing you. But I love to compete, man. Put your best team in front of us and let's go. I don't hate anybody. People try to do that to us, but we kick everyone's ass, so we don't care. Like, just
probably the team up north, probably. I mean, we'll just, you know what I mean?
So last two questions, man. Is SFE the mob?
Oh, come on. That's you know what? That goes without saying. Yeah, of course we're the mob.
Here's the last one for the night. Is my man Jay Wimbrow him?
Jay is the man. At least he's a legend in his own mind. We'll end it right there.
Hey,
Jay is him, and Jay is a legend in his own mind. And by the way, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Hey, that tight end.
I got a question, Mr. Sanchez.
Go ahead.
Is Jay him?
I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, Jay is him. Jay's my guy.
Okay, I like that. By the way, for you guys who don't know, Mr. Wimbrow and the Sanchez's started off a little rough. Jay ruffles a lot of feathers with people.
Oh man, Deech talked about this last night.
We're not even going to bring up what happened, but Jay likes to ruffle feathers. And when you mess with Mrs. Sanchez, you're messing with the wrong person. And Jay did. So Jay Wimbrow, if you're listening, you really effed that up for us. But man, in the end, we had our man. And I have friends for life now with the Sanchez's. And
That's
Jay,
right.
forget you, but man, we're so happy to know the Sanchez's, and your kid couldn't be a nicer, better kid that I've ever met than your kid. And
I appreciate that.
I remember seeing him after the national championship in that hotel, and he just got there, and he was like, he was almost lost. Like, I didn't really play, but I was there, and I see him in that lobby, man. I mean, I saw him downstairs with all the players, and I said, man, and he called me and wanted to see me, and I said, man, you couldn't write a better script, Devin. And I know the script's going to end with a lot more wins for you and this team. And it's great to watch.
Man, man, Brett, we could talk all night, man. I want.
Why are we ending? Let's go, man. We're only an hour and 17 minutes. Let's get going.
Yeah, Brett, I want to thank you, man.
Yeah,
and we'll do again. We're gonna have you back, brother. We'll tell the Jay Wimbrow story. The next time we come back, we'll tell.
You need to have the Jay and Dirt show is what you really need.
Man, hey,
because by the way, I might be sort of okay and sort of cool on this show, maybe. You bring Jay and Dirt, man. You got a whole nother level of fun.
Hey, Daniel, I'll tell you this. Coach Dirt messaged the Buckeye boys about coming on because he thought you were the Buckeye boys. I'm like, this is Devin. He's like, yeah, tell my dude Daniel to, give me a call. So hook him up, man. Let's get him on the show.
Put Jay and Dirt on the show. And by the way, one of your competition has Dirt coming on. I don't know. I never heard of any other Buckeye show besides you guys, but Dirt he was flashing on his social media, some Buckeye show that he's going on. And to me, there's only one Buckeye show only. So, you guys, put Dirt and Jay on there, and boy, your fans will be. By the way, they will not be representing SFE that night. Let's put that disclosure now when they come on and after the show. Whatever they say has nothing to do with SFE.
Man, hell of a disclaimer, man. And again, I want to thank you, Brett, for
thank you guys.
Man, this has been awesome. This has been great, man. Again, we'll be talking with you again.
In
the near future, man. I want to again thank everybody in the chat there, everybody who's watching. This has been a great show.
It's fun.
Again, man. Thank everybody,
guys. Thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. There's a lot of things I could do on Friday night, but this is where I chose to be because of you guys, and it's a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
man.
Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
Appreciate you coming on, man. I look forward to meeting you at the reunion.
Yeah,
dinner,
I'm excited you're coming.
Yeah.
Sanchez, you're coming too. I can't wait.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a good time. That night's gonna be epic. Trust me, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you off here. I got a couple YouTube housekeeping things to take care
All
of
right,
before we
guys.
can officially end the show, but have a blessed night, man.
All right. Thank you. You guys too. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Thank
Yep,
you.
you as well. Yeah, shout out Mello, man, $20. He said, well, Brett, I'm sure he read it. I had it up here long enough. You're an awesome person, have great energy, full of knowledge. We need you back again. Great show, fellas. Salute to all three of you. What a treat. Buckeye Boys fam. Share, sub, and like Pop's Pod. No doubt, Mello. Appreciate the support, brother. He is the other half of the Buckeye Boys. Dude, listen, if I haven't been painting all day in Alabama and I wasn't sitting here in some random building at a teen challenge center, I would have gladly sat here and kept talking. That was an amazing show, man. I'm pumped to get him back on. That's good stuff, bro.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, again, when we're talking on this Pops Pod thing, man, we're just trying to give you as much inside information as we can, you know, and then introduce some of the great people that, you know, myself and Duke, you know, have had the opportunity to come across. So, I mean, you know, again, a couple weeks here, we're gonna try to do another one. And I'm trying to get another special guest in. We're going to continue to just kind of go through the stages of this thing, you know, all the backdoor little pieces that our family felt like were essential pieces, and we're going to kind of move on into the world of training. So hopefully here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to hoping to have a guest on here. He's a former Texas A&M linebacker and a former Dallas Cowboy linebacker who is doing some personal training for linebackers, not only here in Houston, but he's all over the state of Texas. We're hoping to have my guy from Higher Ceiling Academy, Donnie Baggs, here in a couple weeks, man. So you know, come back to us here in a couple weeks, guys. I really appreciate everything. Yeah,
you're in the chat, man. We need you guys' help. Obviously, you've seen it. You watched the show tonight. Pop's Pod. Daniel and Duke do a phenomenal job, man. It's a different show. You're not going to see a show. You're not going to hear stuff like this. You're not going to hear conversations like this on any other YouTube show. It's not going to happen. It's not out there. This is a resource for recruits, for parents, for fans, whatever you want to be. We need your help. Get the word out there. Help us grow this show. It's going to happen organically on its own, but we would love your guys' help. Don't forget to hit that like button, please. Go check us out on our Buckeye Boys channel as well. We appreciate y'all's support. But on that note, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
I-O.